From the majestic heights of the Andes to the vast expanses of the Amazon jungle, and the coasts bathed by the Pacific Ocean, Peru is a country of incomparable natural wealth. Its geographical diversity is reflected in a variety of natural regions, each with its own unique climate, landscape, and ecosystem. In this video, we will venture through these regions, exploring their distinctive features, their amazing biodiversity, and the crucial role they play in the life and culture of the Peruvian people. In regular basic education texts and even at a higher level, as well as many physical geography studies on the classification of the natural regions of Peru, they are confusing because they catalog the coast, mountains, and jungle interchangeably, as well as Quechua or Suni, among others, as natural regions. However, a look at the past allows us to identify variables that differentiate, complement, and even allow these classifications to coexist, because they are useful as concepts that explain the geographical diversity of the country. This necessary coexistence requires, not only for educational purposes, to rename the classification of the natural regions of Peru. This video allows us to distinguish between the natural macroregions, the natural regions, and the ecoregions of Peru from a scale perspective. The three natural regions of Peru.
Las tres regiones naturales del Perú.
It was raised in the Chronicle of Peru, written by Cieza de Leon, a Spanish conquistador and explorer born in 1520 Llerena, Spain, noted for his work as a chronicler and historian of the Andean world. The classification described by Cieza allows us to identify three large natural spaces known as coasts, mountains, and mountains or jungle. Peruvian coasts. Costas peruanas. Regarding the coasts, Cieza elegantly contrasts the lush mangroves of the Ecuadorian coast with the deserts of the northern coastal region of today's Peru. Cieza was struck by the differentiation of the ecology as one moved south of the equator. He then specified the dryness of the northern coast of Peru, noting the absence of rain and the consequent need to resort to irrigation. We must also specify that the notion of coast, as we understand it today, and which was current at the time of Cieza de Leon's residence in the central Andes, was not known by the Andean settlers before the Spanish invasion. Among these, the differentiation between Urku dry and Uma wet was more current. The coast as a shore of the sea or a lake is something else. From the above, it can be extracted that the inhabitants of the time differentiated the spaces, among other variables, according to their climatic characteristics such as dry and humid. It should not be overlooked that Cieza already mentioned the existence of the Yungas and the snowy mountains that have subsequently been very well used by Pulgar.
Peruvian Highlands, Sierra Peruana.
Regarding the mountain, Cieza says that it is a place where the rivers flow. Being very high, the plains are sheltered and warm, so much so that in many parts it is hot as in these plains, referring to the coast. The inhabitants who live in them, even if they are in the mountains, are called Yungas. Cieza describes the mountain range as a very high place with deep valleys. He also indicates that they are places that were discovered and conquered. The rivers are so many, so large, and of great depth. In the same way, he describes the existing populations, pointing out that there are people and towns with various customs, rites, and strange ceremonies, as well as birds, animals, trees, and fish so indifferent and unknown. It can be seen that the classification of mountain, as well as coast, is not arbitrary, but on the contrary had scientific support and was very rigorous for the time because it was based on climatic, biological, and cultural diversity, among others. Factors. Mountains or Peruvian jungle. Montanas o selva peruana. Regarding the mountains, Cieza says that they are made up of many large rivers. Among them, the largest and most powerful is the San Juan River, which is populated by barbarian people who have houses built on large forks like barbecues or platforms. Many inhabitants live there because the canis or houses are long and very wide. These golden Indians are very rich, and the land they have is very fertile, and the rivers carry abundance and full of paluds or lagoons, which in no way can be conquered. But it is at the expense of many people and with great work. Likewise, he points out that there are streams with good and very sweet water, and in the trees there are many peahens, pheasants, and painted cats and large snakes, and other nocturnal birds. Seems that it was never populated. The Marquis Don Francisco Pizarro was here with 13 Spanish Christian companions of his, who were the discoverers of this land we call Peru. The 8 natural regions of Peru.
Las 8 regiones naturales del Perú.
This proposal corresponds to Javier Pulgar Vidal from Huánuco, a Peruvian geographer, philosopher, lawyer and historian, who uses data from folklore, toponymy, climate, flora, fauna, limit products, works of man and landscape data, from which he identifies in Peru what he calls 8 natural regions, which have also been widely disseminated in the national educational curriculum and fully assumed by the national academic community. According to Pulgar, the natural regions are coast or chala, costa ou chala, natural region located between 0 to 500 meters above sea level. It has lands that border the sea on the western side of the Andean slope. Yunga, natural region located between 500 to 2,500 meters above sea level. They are lands with a warm climate of valleys and ravines that climb to the Andes immediately after the chala, and to the valleys and ravines with the same climate that extend along the eastern Andean slope. Quechua, natural region located between 2,500 to 3,500 meters above sea level. They are temperate lands that extend on both slopes of the Andes. Suni or Jauca, natural region located between 3,500 to 4,000 meters above sea level and cold lands. Puna, natural region located between 4,000 to 4,800 meters above sea level. It has very cold plateaus and cliffs. Janca or mountain range. Janca ou cordillera, natural region located between 4,800 to 6,768 meters above sea level. The snowy peaks or white regions of the country are located here. Rupa Rupa or high jungle. Hupa Hupa ou selva alta, natural region located between 400 to 1,000 meters above sea level. There are portions of Andean hills and valleys covered with forest vegetation, which are located on the eastern slope of the Andes. Omagua or lowland jungle.
Omagua o selva baja,
Natural region located between 80 to 400 meters above sea level. The Amazon and its tributaries run through this immense jungle plain, whose waters flow into the Atlantic. These classifications made by Pulgar, although they correspond to common patterns existing within the country, although not clearly delimited or identifiable, when called natural regions create confusion in the national academic sphere since they contradict the 3 natural regions already existing and of which have been known since the 16th century. In this regard and to date, from the Ministry of Education through the universities, which train geographer professionals in the country, to the academic authorities in geographical matters, there have been no necessary clarifications regarding whether the 8 natural regions of Pulgar replace the 3 natural regions indicated by Cieza or if both coexist with said name. The 11 natural ecoregions of Peru.
Las 11 ecorregiones naturales del Perú.
At the beginning of the 21st century, Antonio Braqueg from PASC and Cecilia Mendiola Vargas from TARM developed the theory of the 11 natural ecoregions of Peru. In order to identify the ecoregions, Braque and Mendiola take into account similar characteristics in terms of climate, soils, hydrographic conditions, flora and fauna, considering a close interdependence between the variables, which demonstrates a geosystemic approach in their classification. The substantial contribution in the proposal of the 11 ecoregions is the explicit consideration of the maritime territory of Peru. Therefore, this classification ranges from the ocean to the tropical jungle, passing through deserts, valleys, mountain ranges and Andean forests. Based on the aforementioned classification, some areas could be considered lacking great diversity, but the integrated analysis shows enormous natural potential. The 11 natural ecoregions of Peru that Braque and Mendiola postulate have the following characteristics. Tropical sea. Mar tropical. It is the current of warm waters present on the northern coast of Peru, from Piura and Tumbes. The water temperature varies between 19 degrees Celsius in winter, up to 23 degrees Celsius in summer. A characteristic of the flora is the presence of algae and mangroves, while the fauna is characterized by the existence of beautiful shark, turtles, Tumbes crocodile, lobster, black shell, among others. Cold sea. Mar frio. It is the ecoregion delimited by the Peruvian Current or Humboldt Current. It extends from the central coast of Chile to the northern coast of Peru, Piura and Tumbes. The water temperature ranges between 13 and 14 degrees in winter, and between 15 and 17 degrees in summer. Its coastline is rocky. It has a lot of plankton, mainly phytoplankton, and you can find mammals such as whales, wolves, dolphins, and sperm whales. Wide variety of fish such as anchovy, croaker, sole, silverside, bonito, and horse mackerel, among others. Pacific desert.
Desierto del Pacífico.
It includes the Peruvian coast and borders the dry forest. It is located at sea level and rarely exceeds 700 meters above sea level until reaching 1,000 meters of altitude. It has flat and undulating relief, with desert soils and an average temperature of 18 to 19 degrees. It is characterized by having coastal hills, cattails, bats, lizards, shrimp, among others. Equatorial dry forest. Bosque Seco Equatorial. It is an ecoregion that is between 100 and 150 kilometers wide. It is located in the territories of Tumbes, Piura, Lambayeque and La Libertad, reaching up to 2,800 meters above sea level. It has flat relief with undulations and mountainous areas. The temperature ranges between 23 and 24 degrees. In this ecoregion, the presence of squirrels, anteaters, hummingbirds, sabos, willows, sapotes, and cane brava, among others, has been identified. Pacific tropical forest.
Bosque tropical del Pacífico.
This ecoregion is a small area on the northern coast of Peru, in the department of Tumbes, that is characterized by having relief of hills and mountains with altitudes that reach up to 1,000 meters above sea level. It has a tropical and rainy climate. It has flora and fauna typical of tropical forests. Steppe mountains. Serrania esteparia. This ecoregion includes the western slopes of the Andes from La Libertad to the southern tip of Peru. It has abrupt reliefs with narrow valleys and steep slopes with few plains. Its altitude ranges between 1,000 and 3,800 meters above sea level. It is characterized by having xerophytic plants, grasslands and relict forests, as well as guanacos, deer, Andean cats, condors, among others. Puna. This ecoregion covers altitudes ranging from 3,800 to 6,768 meters above sea level. Here you can see snow-capped peaks, plateaus, undulating and steep areas. It has a very cold climate with abundant rainfall. In addition, it is characterized by having grasslands, quinoales and fauna of Andean origin. Paramo. Paramo. This ecoregion covers some areas of Piura and Cajamarca. It has a flat, undulating and steep relief on the summits, with altitudes that exceed 3,500 meters above sea level. In the moor there are orchids, mosses, lianas, partridges, eagles, hummingbirds, among others. High jungle.
Selva alta.
This ecoregion is located in the eastern part of the Andes along the foothills. It has narrow valleys and its altitude ranges from 600 to 3,800 meters above sea level. The flora is characterized by the presence of myrtle, mall and cedar, while its fauna includes buzzards, monkeys, catfish, among others. Low jungle.
Selva baja.
This ecoregion is located below 800 meters above sea level, covering almost all of the Amazon. The relief is not very rugged with hills that do not exceed 500 meters in altitude, and with a maximum temperature of 36 degrees Celsius and a minimum of 18 degrees Celsius. It has an incalculable floristic diversity, and in terms of its vast fauna, the anaconda, the ocelot, the hummingbird, the paiche, among others, stand out. Palm savanna.
Sabana de palmeras.
This ecoregion covers southeastern Peru, specifically the eastern end of the department of Madre de Dios, on the border with Bolivia. It has a flat relief, a tropical climate with abundant rain during the summer, and the temperature ranges between 20 and 23 degrees. In its territories, the presence of the anteater, maned wolf, palm trees, aguajales, among others, stands out. Although the classification of ecoregions does not generate confusion with the three proposals of Cieza or the 8 of Pulgar, called natural regions, there is a substantial contribution that we rescue from the proposal of Brack and Mendiola. The explicit reference to the Peruvian Sea that includes 2 of its 11 ecoregions undoubtedly indicates to us that we cannot ignore this Peruvian territory when making a classification of the natural regions or ecoregions of Peru. But now it's your turn to tell us, what did you think of this information about the natural regions of Peru? Which of them all seems the most ideal to you? We will be attentive to read you in the comments. If you found the video useful, we would appreciate it if you gave it a like to support our project and if you subscribe. Thanks for watching and we'll see you next time.